I wanted to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
I wanted to ask you if you could take me back in time before the album came out and tell me how the band became a reality.
So, you know, it's kind of just sitting at home and listening to my favorite band is In Flames. Just sitting around listening to them, and I was like, I really want to make something that sounds familiar to their earlier work.
Hmm.
And I kind of just booted up Logic Pro and I was just recording some demo riffs. And this was about 2 years ago, around this time actually, 2024. I was a sophomore in high school,
Wow.
and I was just like, I really want to do something like this. So I just recorded the scratch tapes for the guitar, and then that's kind of where it went. I programmed the drums after and did all that stuff.
And No Man's Land is a great album from top to bottom.
Thank you.
I wanted to
Thank you.
ask you, when you were making the album, did the song come first or did the title for the album come first?
So, the title for the album definitely came first. I'm really big into history, specifically like World War One, World War Two, that type of thing. Um, in school at the time, I was learning about World War One,
Mm,
and I was like, this would be a really interesting album if I made something just completely related, not to solely World War One, because there's some tracks on there that are from different times, but
sure.
just something like with the album cover being the trenches and
Yeah.
that type of stuff. Like I was really interested in that. So definitely the names came first, and then the songs though I had already kind of demoed a year before that, and I was like I can finally put some names on it, and that's how it came together.
And No Man's Land is one of the best tracks on the album.
Oh yeah,
When
yeah.
did that come to you lyrically in the process?
Um, so again, I was just kind of listening to my favorite bands and stuff, and I was like, I'm not a very lyrically inclined person for most of the time. Um, I'm way better at conveying my emotion through instrumentals and guitar, and I have a lot of trouble um putting my words down,
Hmm.
but it took a couple months, but I guess what really just reeled me in was I was just listening to the track over and over again. I was like, what is something I can like the music itself is so heavy in that song.
Yeah.
And I was like, what could I possibly talk about? And I was like, I need to talk about something like super brutal in the sense of like No Man's Land, like all the soldiers coming up on the battlefield.
Sure.
I kind of just went from there, and that's how that came to be. It took a while because, like I said, I'm not very good at writing, but I got there eventually.
And Tomb of Penance is also a standout track for me. I wanted to ask if you could speak on that track as well.
So Tomb of Penitence actually was the first demo I recorded
Wow.
2 years ago. I the lyrics for that one kind of just I would say for me it's definitely one of the songs that is really powerful through the instrumental itself.
Hmm.
Um and I had a lot of fun with the guitar solo on that song. Uh just the lyrics itself I wish I could have done better. I'm kind of just repeating in that song, and I got a little lazy with the writing, but hopefully maybe one day can go back to that on like a future release or something, and just kind of revise some things, make a second version.
And we touched on the cover of the album. I wanted to ask you who's responsible for the artwork?
So it's this guy on Instagram. He doesn't, unfortunately, I don't think he does art like that anymore. His name's Eric Marin. Uh, his handle was called Dark Colors, I believe. Yeah, I had him do a bunch of work for me. I had him do the cover for Atrocity Within, and I have a second project called Uncharnel, and he did a couple of those
Hmm.
the artwork for that as well. He great guy. I don't really know what happened to, make him kind of step away from the art scene, but he did phenomenal on the No Man's Land
Absolutely.
album cover. He did great on that. Some great piece of work.
And the album is out and it's reaching the world. I wanted to ask you, what's the next step for you now?
So currently, it's a two piece, just me and Dave. Fortunately, he couldn't be here today. He's a state over, so couldn't really find the time to meet up. But we're looking for a bassist and a drummer currently. Once we find those two, we're gonna start playing some shows and start getting ourselves out there. And then eventually, when it's the four of us, we're gonna start writing something together as one instead of it just being solely me.
I wanted to ask you, and speaking of you, I wanted to ask you if you could take me back in time and tell me how your musical journey started.
So about, I want to say 5 years ago, 2021, I was only uh 13 years old. Um, I got a drum set from my uncle. It was an older drum set. It was not great, but it did well for the time.
Sure.
Um, and if I started on drums originally, and before that I was in a concert band with school and stuff, and I was doing percussion, and then I got more into drums through during COVID. I was really bored, and I was like, I want to start playing drums. So I, my uncle gave me a drum set, and then a few months later, I started, practicing a lot, and I thought I was getting good at the time, but if you listen to videos back then, that's not the case. Um, but I was trying, and my stepdad had a older like mixer out in the garage, and I was
Mhm.
messing with it, and I made a couple demos. Unfortunately, I don't have them anymore, but it was more. At the time, I was really into Merciful Fate and like King Diamond. So it was kind of that more like first wave black metal type sound I
Mhm.
was going for. Just something easy for me to do. I was just the same, the same drum beat every song, and I was, just that's kind of how it started. And then I picked up guitar, and it's funny now I solely play guitar. I don't even like play drums. I could still play drums. I always know how to, but I don't really touch them anymore. And I switched to guitar because it was a lot easier for me to grasp onto. It was a lot easier for me to sit down and kind of hone in. Drums are so many. There's so many techniques that you can go with. With guitar, it's a little more. There's still a lot, but it's a little more narrow. Um, and it was just a lot easier. And then I got my what's it called, interface, and that's really where it started a few years ago. I got an interface for Christmas, and I started making a bunch of demos, and soon after that made the demo for Atrocity Within.
And speaking of early Merciful Fate, the guitar work on them albums is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, they're great. I saw them uh about 4 years ago, the Fillmore, Philadelphia. They were with Creator and
Oh,
I
wow.
believe Midnight. Yeah, it was a great show. Great show.
I wanted to ask you, and speaking of your musical journey, what do you feel has been the best advice that has been given to you along the way?
Um, as cliche as it sounds, just sticking with it when you think that you're not doing too great. Like around a year ago, um, I thought that I was kind of losing the skill because I had started working over the summer and I wasn't, able to do guitar as much as I used
Mhm.
to. And I was really upset about it, because it's kind of my entire life. Like my entire daily routine revolves around getting at least an hour of practice in every day.
Sure.
And because I wasn't able to do that, it messed with me a little bit. And my dad and my mom, they kind of just were like, you sound good regardless. And when you play an instrument, you don't really see that yourself. You're always very, at least for me, kind of just self-conscious about it until
Sure.
somebody tells you that you're doing good. Then you're kind of like, oh yeah. And just being told to just stick with it through that plateau,
Hmm.
and eventually you'll get better. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, a couple months later, I had started honing in more on like sweep picking and
Um,
just styles like that. And at first, it was hard, and then now it's something I do to warm up, and it's just insane. It's really insane how that advice really altered how I was playing.
and now the album is out. I wanted to ask you, what's the best way to get a copy of this album and any merchandise that you have?
So we have a Bandcamp. Just put it up about a month ago. Just Atrocity Within. We are currently selling CDs, and we are trying to get in production some records pretty soon. So I got a couple of them demoed from a website, and once I can get a deal with that, those will be up for sale. But yeah, for right now, just through Bandcamp. Instagram is also another good way. Um, just to contact the account, and I can personally ship out some things. And yeah,
And lastly, I wanted to ask you if you could give a message to your fans, what message would you give them?
again, as cliche as it sounds, it's it's honestly it's just great that they've stuck the way. I released a couple demos before No
Hmm.
Man's Land, and uh, they were okay, but they weren't the best. And I'm very grateful that the people that did listen from the beginning, especially up to now, was you know they trusted that it would get better. You know, and I'm just really grateful for everybody that has taken the time out of their day to listen to what I put out. It's kind of like a weird concept to me. It's like to me it's like there's no way that there's people out there that are like listening to my stuff and they're like, I like that. I'm gonna repeatedly listen to this. It's just
Sure.
it's such a weird concept to me. And I'm so happy that the the small amount of people that listen to my stuff really appreciate it, and it's just it's great. I love the people that have been listening so far.
The standout for me on the album is that the album has a sound of its own. You don't sound like other bands, and I
Thank
can
you so
feel
much.
where this band is going when I'm listening to the album. I can feel this band going farther and progressing in style. And I love the album from top to bottom. I thought it was a
Thank you.
great concept wise, even though it's not a concept album. Most 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 songs are based upon war or other issues such as like mind issues, like people facing more. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a very great listen, and I look
Thank
forward to
you.
what lies ahead for you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too, man. Thank you. Thank you for
Take
having me.
care.
Take care.
Cheers.